So, you know that thing I've been dealing with? I just had the biggest insight.
Tell it.
Okay, so for our viewers, going to give you guys a little context. I'm doing a big home reno, um, dancing with, the different things that have been happening, the curveballs and the wheels falling off. And I've really been holding this reno with, first of all, expanding my capacity to receive, like beyond better than I could possibly ever imagine. And it just keeps being better than I can imagine. And I keep going and saying yes and receiving it. And it's so fucking awesome. And I just recently had a particular curveball around my floor. So my floor, I had bought this beautiful 5.25-inch cherry plank flooring, character grade, so lots of variety in it. And when it was going to be laid, I said to the guy laying the floor, I would like to be there to, help look at some of the boards, especially in the high visibility areas where there'll never be furniture, never be a carpet. I would like to help choose the boards that go there. And he said, well, I don't think that's really a good idea, because then you'll wind up with a collection of shitty boards where you think you're going to have a rug, and what if you don't have a rug? And then you also should just let it unfold organically, which I've also been working on in my life, right? How do I trust? How do I let go of control? How do I let things unfold? So I made a choice. Okay, fine. I'm going to trust what he's saying. That sounds like the message from the universe, right? And then the whole time they were laying the floor, I was downstairs going, the artist in me is going crazy. I just want to be up there. I want to play. I want to see the boards layout. I want to go this one here and not this one here. And that one I don't like at all. Don't put that anywhere. I so wanted to do that. And I wouldn't let myself. Remember I called you?
Yeah, and you were like, oh my God, talk me off the ledge. I feel like a control freak. I want to go up there. You told me the whole story, and we unpacked it about like trusting yourself, trusting your own vision, and allowing giving this to yourself.
Yes.
And doing it with kindness, but that this is your project and you have the vision, and yeah. Okay, so continue. I don't know where this is going, because this is a new insight. So I'm with you.
So I would kind of go up a little bit and just look and kind of point to one board and say, or I would say this 6 feet is going to be high visibility. There will never be. So make sure you guys are, you guys are choosing well here. And they're like, oh yes, we've got it. We will. And then I would go back downstairs. Well, the floor is laid, and in the high visibility areas, there are places that I'm like, oh my God, this is.
I must say, not as an artist like you with all of the understandings of that, I too was like, oh my God, I see what you're saying.
Yes, and I phoned my sister, who's an interior decorator, and showed her, and she went, this is a disaster. Like, she had I would be so mad if that was my floor. I'd be saying this is not good. And so I've been playing with, well, what could I do about it? Let me start with, I'll just tell my contractor, hey, I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't insist, and I wish that I would have, because there's some things here I don't like. And he kind of listened and said, well, here's another way to look at it. It's a character floor, and it's just got interesting character. And so I'm like, okay, so he's not lining up here with me seeing this to be not good. Mm-hmm. So, and it's nailed and glued down, tongue and groove, nailed and glued down.
Right. So in that chance, you're like, okay, I guess the only thing I can do now is shift my perspective.
My perspective. If I want the good better than I can imagine, it's going to require the place for that to happen is not in the world of form. It's in the world of perspective. So I'm trying so hard to just go, it'll be fine. You do not need to make a big deal out of this, right? You'll learn to love it. You can play with it. You can sit and meditate and look at the pieces that drive you crazy and use it as a practice ground, right? For experiencing frustration and degradation.
To trust myself, to follow my instincts. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was so mad at the strongest feeling was so mad at myself that I didn't let myself want what I wanted. Like, have it. I didn't let myself have it, right? I talked myself out of it, because what I wanted.
Sometimes we not only talk ourselves out of it, but we're talked out of it. Like, both of those things were happening.
Yeah. Yes. So I kept trying to get over the mad at myself and feel the remorse and feel the thing. But it's been 3 days, and every day I just woke up just like, ugh. And every time I go, I'm going to go look at the floor, and I'm going to just like it. And I would look at it and go, I just hate it.
I love this. No, I don't. I absolutely hate it.
I want to love you. I wish I could love you. I do not love you. Yes. So
that's like trying to manipulate yourself into it in some way.
yeah. And you gave me a great invitation to what if you played with, I actually get to not like it in my being willing to surrender and live with it. I can also include, and it is not my preference. Like that gets to be here too. So I was playing with that, right?
Right. Like the we're always gonna like, dislike, and feel neutral about things.
Yes.
No matter how perfect we get something, there's going to be something in it that we dislike, or something that happens in the space that we dislike. So just being with the truth of that.
Yeah. Okay, so the guy who laid the floor came over today to do some other work. And so I'm like kind of sidle up to him and say, so if one of a board in this floor got damaged or something and you had to like take it out, like would that be absolutely epic? Like how would you do that? And he said, well, we'd, cut a little thing on the inside, not right up to the edge, and we'd pull that out, and then we'd get some pliers, and we'd pull the tongue and groove out, and we'd probably rip up some of the subfloor because it's glued to the subfloor. And I said, wow, it sounds like majorly epic. He said, yeah, it'd be pretty epic. And I said, okay. So forget that idea, right? And then I'm like, there are some places here that I'm really just not crazy about it, like some real blonde little triangles right in the middle of a bunch of red. I'm wondering, do you think it might be possible to like stain those triangles a bit? And he said, well, maybe you could do a test and see if that would work. So I phoned that timber company where I got the wood and said, what about that idea? And they said, oh no, you don't want to do that because the floor is not stained. It's cherry. And the blonde bits, if you now stain them, stained floor looks different than a natural floor. The grain is going to absorb a lot of the stain. You're going to have strong grain texture. So it's going to look different already. Plus, over time, the natural wood will age differently than the stain will age. So you're just going to have the same problem, but different in a year. I'm like, all right then.
Not only have you tried perspectives, but you've also looked at different options and resources. So you're doing all that stuff.
Yeah. And you said a great thing to me today. You said, well, maybe this is the road to surrender. Like maybe this is how you get to surrender. And I'm like, yeah, that's true, right? Like I am finding my way to, well, okay, if that's not, maybe I'm going to need to surrender. Let's try this.
Yeah, we talked about when you are in love with something and you have a vision for something, like in a relationship, and there are things that are challenges and you don't want to just bail on the relationship. Like you stay in, you won't be satisfied leaving the relationship until you've tried
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what you're doing.
Yeah. So, okay. So then I'm kind of upstairs just chitty-chatting with the guys while they're doing some work, and my electrician shows up. Now, my electrician from the whole start of this reno has been, you get to want what you want and do not compromise. Do not compromise. You will not be happy if you compromise, right? This has been his thing the whole way through about any things I've run into, any problems I've run into. So anyway, he comes in and he walks like right up past me to the place where he looks down the strip that is making me crazy, which is the whole walkway through the room to the door out. And I'm looking at his face because I want to see what his reaction is going to be. He hasn't seen the floor yet. And I look at his face and his eyes go straight to this long blonde strip right in the center, and he stops. And then, but you can see him just correct right away, right? He looks up and he looks in the whole room and he goes, wow, the floor looks great. I'm like, he hates it. So a little later on, I have some time alone with him and I say, what do you think of the floor? And he said, well, it's really nice. I said, there's some things here that I really don't like. And he said, I don't like them at all. I don't know why they made those. And I showed him everything that I did not like because there's about 6 or 7 different things. And he went, I've laid many floors. If I was laying a floor, I would not have done one of these choices that they made. They're awkward. They're abrupt. They don't flow the floor. Like they are not. I do not understand why. I said, well, I think it's because they thought they were going to run out of wood. So the priority became we can't waste any wood, rather than,
And like more wood can't be gotten?
nobody considered that, right? They just decided, oh, we don't have enough wood. Okay, let's see if we can make it to the finish line. That was just, that's the momentum they were in, right? We've since ordered 3 more bundles of wood because they ran out of wood. They don't have enough to finish the job, so they've ordered more wood.
Mm.
Anyway, so now I got the electrician agreeing with me and my sister, who's an interior decorator, agreeing with me, right? So I'm like, damn it, right? So Tom, my contractor, comes over. Fred's hanging lights and stuff, and Tom and I are sitting there, and we're all talking, and I'm like, so Tom, just gonna ask this, put it out there. I'm not attached to it, just, gonna put it out in this space. If there were some boards in this floor that I absolutely did not like, could we replace them? And he said, well, it would be a lot of work, but anything's possible.
Yes.
And I said, okay. And he said, there'd be quite a bit of labor involved and, more material, and there's a risk you're going to damage the boards beside. But I mean, if there's something you really don't like, we can do it. And I'm like, okay, great. So then I'm absorbing this, right? And then a bit of time goes by. He goes away. Fred and I talked again, and Fred's like, you got to do this. You got to replace everything in this floor that you don't like. It's your floor. It's your house. And you need to be happy. You get to want what you want.
I love it throughout this process. You've had so many consistent different voices telling you the same thing. The voice that is of limited perspective, either limited or completely not aware. Like this person was not conscious of the budget that it was changing and wanting to notify you. And then this other voice, which is constantly like, have what you want.
Yes. I know. And every source of stress in this entire project, the only times that I've been stressed is when I did not let myself want what I wanted and have what I wanted. Because someone said, you don't want to spend that much money on that, or that's going to be a lot of hassle, and so I would get talked out of it.
Right.
And every time I got talked out of it, stress. But every time I went for it and said, I don't care about how much effort and I don't care about how much money, expansiveness, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm talking with Fred and he's telling me, I really hope you're going to do this. I really, really, really want you to do this. And I'm like, I'm kind of a bit worried that they're going to think I'm being ridiculous. And I'm making them rip up floorboards. And he's like, it doesn't matter what they think.
Absolutely.
Relevant. It is absolutely irrelevant what they think. And if they think you're a pain in the ass, then that's on them. Because what they should want is for you to be happy as a customer. That is what's important here. And he said, you're not being ridiculous. Like, it totally, I couldn't live with this. I'm with you on this. And I'm like, okay. And then it hit me. Here's the insight. Not choosing this would be doing exactly the same thing that I have spent the last 4 days being so mad at myself for, which is not letting myself have what I want.
Amazing. Wow. Yeah. And you were getting the messages all along. You had that first, when you called me and I gave you the same one, like, how often are we always thinking about what other people are going to think? Not wanting to be too much, too controlling, trying to control the viewpoint of it.
Yeah. You
got that. And it just, like, this is what happens where we need to hear it a few times until we get that amazing insight.
Well, and what's also fascinating to me is that what's being mirrored of the whole way beside it was all the ways that I am letting myself have what I want and how much joy it's bringing me. That's been here. And then every time along the way, something isn't what I want. And I say, oh, it's too much. I'm going to be a hassle. I'm going to cause people trouble, or people are going to think I'm an asshole. Then stress. Meanwhile, this beautiful thing just keeps wanting to unfold, right? And as soon as I go, oh, let myself have what I want, then the whole thing becomes, so I was trying to settle. and
Right.
it wasn't working.
And I mean, how well do you know this as an artist of, having a vision that you want to execute and having meeting tangles along the way. But what if at each tangle you just went with it and just didn't correct it, just accepted it, and didn't allow yourself the room to change some paint,
Yeah.
and to play around with it until it feels true.
Well, and what was interesting was this morning before all of this, for some reason, I just started thinking, this feeling that I have about this floor is exactly the feeling that I always have when a painting doesn't work out. But when a painting doesn't work out, I just wipe it off and start a new painting. What's really painful about this is it's going to be this thing of beauty that I'm going to live in for years, that I've created, and I'm going to see it every single day. I can't just, right? And so that was already in my head when all of this started to unfold today. And I was playing with, right, but the floor's solid. It's nailed and glued down. There's a reason it's nailed and glued down. I'm supposed to learn something about not trying to change something in the world of form to be happy. Like, that's really where I was going. But what I'm seeing now is I was telling myself it wasn't an option to change this thing in the world of form.
What this is showing me is that kind of this funny thing that happens when we look at everything as a sign, which is both true. Everything is reflecting something to us. There is learning in everything, right? So that is true. But it can be in a way of like, okay, this happened and it's happening so that it's happening for me to accept. It's and it's happening for me to just learn how to overcome this thing.
Yeah.
And you can get any kind of message that you want with it.
Yeah.
It could be that as much as it could be, this is happening so I see that I can have whatever I want. I can work the freaking floor,
Yeah. Well, and I said to you this morning, I will know when I've learned what my lesson is here, when I'm no longer triggered by it, that floor. Because every time, okay, well, maybe I'm supposed to choose joy, not let form dictate my joy, right? Let me try that on. And it's still, it wasn't working, right?
It can sound ridiculous to do all those things, but the thing is like, that's what the path of the process looks like. And each step is a learning. Like, you had the learning around trust, you had the learning, around acceptance and surrender, around all of these things have been insights building to this one route that you've landed in.
And how I knew it when I got it was I saw the thematic. Like, when I got it today, I'm like, oh, that's it. How do I know? Because that has been the theme this entire way through. It's like everything is done.
Boom.
Yay!
So land that learning. The bottom line of it is.
What is the bottom line of it?
Okay. So the bottom line is to let yourself have what you want, to not let what others think get in the way, and to be in the exploration of what you think, feeling into the messages that you're getting of what's true and what isn't.
Yeah. Like, if something doesn't feel good, then something's out of alignment.
Yeah, spend some more time thinking about it. Spend some more time feeling with it. Don't just try and get past it, because it's still there and it's still there,
Yeah. And for me, I think the bottom line is that, yes, absolutely. And what it means to have abundance consciousness. What it means to have abundance consciousness is you get to have what you want. You are creating your reality. And the universe will happily give you anything you want if you're willing to let yourself have it.
More on that in future posts for sure. We have a lot to say about that.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. Hope you got some good insights from this. See you.
Thanks, Sharon, Libby. That's it.